Over the past few years, more mechanics and homeowners have started saying the same thing. Most new tools simply don't last anymore. In fact, many people now believe that close to 80% of modern tools are garbage compared to what used to be made. Brands like Craftsman built their reputation on tools that people pass down from one generation to the next. Many homeowners still have wrenches and ratchets from the 80s that work perfectly today. But when people try to replace those tools with modern versions, the quality often feels very different. The reason for that change is not just one bad brand or one poorly made tool. It's something much bigger that has quietly changed across the entire industry. In this video, we're going to break down what really changed in the tool industry and explain why so many modern tools fail much sooner than the ones people bought 20 or 30 years ago. Many tool brands come from the same factories. If you walk into a hardware store today, it looks like a competitive market. You see rows of tools from many brands, different colors, different logos, different price ranges. It gives the impression that dozens of companies are competing to build the best tools for your garage. But the reality behind the shelves is very different. Over the past 20 years, the tool industry has gone through a quiet wave of consolidation. Large corporations began buying smaller tool companies that once operated independently. What used to be many separate manufacturers slowly became a handful of massive companies controlling most of the market. That means many brands that appear different are often connected behind the scenes. In some cases, tools sold under different brand names are produced in the same factories, using very similar production lines. The branding may change, the colors may change, and the packaging may look different, but the internal design and manufacturing process can be almost identical. This is why many buyers notice something confusing when they compare tools today. A tool from one brand might look almost the same as a tool from another brand sitting right next to it on the shelf. That's not a coincidence. Factories that manufacture tools often produce products for several brands at once. One factory may build tools for a store brand, a mid-range brand, and even a well-known name in the same building. The difference between them is often the specifications that the brand requests and the price target they want to hit. If a retailer wants a cheaper tool to sell at a lower price, the factory adjusts the materials or components to meet that cost. If another brand wants a slightly higher-end model, the same factory may upgrade a few parts, but the production system remains largely the same. This explains something many buyers have quietly noticed. Different brands sometimes develop the same problems around the same time. When the same factories, suppliers, and production systems are involved, similar weaknesses can appear across multiple brands. And once you understand that many tools are coming from the same manufacturing pipelines, it becomes easier to see that the real story behind modern tools is not just about brands, it's about how those factories are actually operating. And that story starts with something most buyers never think about. Workers are paid to build tools. Faster, not better. The problem becomes easier to understand once you look at how many tool factories actually operate. In many modern manufacturing plants, workers are not paid by the hour the way people often imagine. Instead, they are paid using a system called piece rate production. That means workers earn money based on how many tools they assemble and push down the line each day. At first, that system sounds efficient. The more tools produced, the more workers earn. But it also creates a very different incentive inside the factory. Speed becomes the most important thing. When a worker is paid per unit, stopping the line to correct a small issue slows production. Tightening a bolt again, adjusting a misaligned gear, or rerouting a wire all take time. And when time directly affects how much money someone earns that day, most people feel pressure to keep the tools moving. That's where small problems begin to appear. A screw may not be tightened perfectly. A motor may be installed slightly out of alignment. A wire may be placed quickly instead of carefully routed. Individually, those things might not seem like major issues, but over time, they can shorten the life of the tool. Repair technicians often see the results of this when they open tools that have failed early. They sometimes find loose fasteners, poorly aligned parts, or wiring that was installed too tightly against other components. These are not always design mistakes. They are often the result of a production system that rewards speed more than careful assembly. And this system did not become common by accident. As tool companies began competing heavily on price and production volume, factories had to find ways to build more tools in less time. Piece rate systems helped increase output, but they also changed the balance between speed and precision on the assembly line. That shift is one of the reasons many modern tools can look good when they leave the factory, but develop problems sooner than expected. But factory speed is only part of the story. Even if every tool were assembled perfectly, there is another change that has had a major effect on durability. Modern tools use cheaper materials. The materials inside many tools today are not the same ones used in older models. If you pick up an older tool, something like a Craftsman ratchet from the 80s or 90s, the first thing you notice is how solid it feels. The steel is thicker. The handle feels heavier. The mechanism inside was built with durability in mind because these tools were expected to last for decades. Many mechanics still have those older tools today. It's not unusual to hear someone say they are still using the same Craftsman wrench set their father bought 30 or 40 years ago. Those tools were built with stronger alloys, thicker housings, and parts designed to handle years of heavy use without failing. Now compare that to many modern tools. To reduce cost and make tools lighter to ship, manufacturers gradually changed the materials used in production. Steel components became thinner. Some internal parts that were once metal are now made from reinforced plastic or lighter alloys. In power tools, gear housings and internal supports that used to be solid metal are sometimes replaced with composite materials. These changes do not always make a tool fail immediately, but they reduce the margin of strength. A thicker gear can tolerate stress longer than a thinner one. A solid metal housing can absorb vibration better than plastic. When those materials change, the tool may still work at first, but it may not survive years of heavy use the way older models did. That's why many people say the same thing when they compare older tools with newer ones. The older tools simply feel stronger. Manufacturers often explain that modern tools are designed to be lighter and easier to handle. And in some cases, that is true. A lighter drill or impact driver can reduce fatigue during long jobs, but lighter materials also lower manufacturing costs. When millions of tools are produced every year, even a small reduction in material thickness can save companies a large amount of money. A few grams of steel removed from each tool may not seem like much, but across millions of units, it becomes a significant financial advantage. The trade-off is durability. Tools may still work well for light use, but they may not last the way older models did, and materials are only part of the story. Another major change has happened behind the scenes in the way tools are actually manufactured. Today, many tools are no longer built entirely by one company. Instead, the parts often come from many different suppliers around the world. Parts now come from many different suppliers. Another major change in the tool industry has happened quietly behind the scenes, and most buyers never see it. Years ago, many tool companies controlled most of the manufacturing process themselves. A company would design the tool, produce many of the internal parts, and assemble everything within the same manufacturing system. This allowed them to keep tighter control over the quality of each component going into the final product. Many of the older tools people still praise today were built under that type of system. A ratchet, drill, or wrench from decades ago was often made with parts coming from the same production pipeline. The gears, housings, and internal components were designed to work together because they were produced under the same standard. That consistency helped those tools last. Today, the process often looks very different. Many modern tools are assembled from parts that come from several different suppliers around the world. One factory might produce the motor. Another factory may produce the gears. The electronics could come from a completely different supplier, and the outer housing might be molded somewhere else entirely. All of those parts are then shipped to an assembly plant where the final tool is put together. From a business perspective, this system makes sense. It allows companies to reduce production costs, switch suppliers when prices change, and produce tools in very large quantities. But it also introduces a new challenge. Consistency becomes harder to control. When parts come from multiple suppliers, each factory may use slightly different materials, equipment, or manufacturing processes. Even when the design is the same on paper, the finished components may not behave exactly the same. For example, a motor from one supplier might run slightly hotter than the previous batch. A gear from another supplier might have a slightly different hardness. An electronic control board from a different manufacturer might respond differently to vibration or heat. None of those changes may look significant on their own, but when several small variations end up inside the same tool, the overall durability can change. That's why some buyers notice something confusing with modern tools. Two tools with the same brand name and the same model number can sometimes feel slightly different. One might run smoother, Another might sound louder. One may last for years, while another fails much sooner. When tools are built from many different supply chains, those kinds of differences become more likely. Older tools rarely had this level of complexity in their manufacturing system. Many of the classic models people still rely on today were produced with fewer suppliers and tighter quality control over each component. That consistency is one of the reasons those older tools built such strong reputations. And if this kind of behind-the-scenes breakdown is helpful so far, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more homeowners and tool buyers learn what to watch out for before spending money on equipment that may not last. Because once you start understanding how these tools are actually built, the differences between older models and many modern ones start to make a lot more sense. And the next change in the industry explains something else many buyers have noticed: why modern tools often look more impressive on the shelf than they actually are on the inside. Tools are designed to look good on the shelf. Manufacturers began paying more attention to how tools look on the shelf rather than how they are built on the inside. If you compare older tools with many modern ones, the difference becomes clear. Older tools were often simple in appearance. A wrench might have a plain chrome finish, a drill might have a basic metal housing and a straightforward design. The focus was on strength and durability, not visual appeal. Modern tools often look very different. Bright colors, rubber grips, textured handles, and sleek shapes are now common. Packaging has also become more elaborate. Boxes highlight features, colors, and comfort design because those details stand out when buyers are comparing tools in a store. None of these features are necessarily bad. Comfort grips can make tools easier to hold, and improved ergonomics can help reduce fatigue during long jobs. But the focus on appearance can sometimes hide where companies are saving money. A tool might look impressive from the outside, while the internal components remain unchanged, or even downgraded compared to older versions. For example, a modern drill may have a stylish housing and comfortable rubber grip, but the gears inside might be lighter than those used in older models. A ratchet may have a polished finish and modern handle design, while the internal mechanism uses thinner parts than earlier versions. When buyers are standing in a store, they naturally respond to what they can see and feel. A tool that looks modern and comfortable often feels like a better purchase. But the true durability of a tool usually depends on the parts hidden inside. Older tools earned their reputation because they were built first for function and durability. Their design was simple, but the internal components were often stronger and built to survive years of heavy use. Today, visual design and shelf appeal play a larger role in how tools are marketed and sold. That shift does not automatically make every modern tool weak. Many high-quality tools are still produced today, but it does mean buyers must look past appearance and focus more on what is actually inside the tool, because another part of the industry also changed at the same time, and it affects something many people assume will protect them when a tool fails. Tool warranties don't work the way people think. When a tool breaks, most buyers feel protected by one thing: the warranty. Many tool brands advertise lifetime warranties or long coverage periods. On the surface, that sounds reassuring. If something goes wrong, the company promises to repair or replace the tool. But the way warranties actually work today is often very different from what people expect. Years ago, warranties were often simpler. Many older tool brands built their reputation on quick replacements. If a wrench or ratchet failed, you could walk into a store and exchange it without much trouble. Some companies became famous for standing behind their tools with almost no questions asked. That experience helped build strong trust in those brands. Today, the process can be more complicated. Many modern warranties require buyers to go through a claim process. Instead of a quick exchange at the counter, the customer may have to submit forms, provide proof of purchase, and sometimes ship the tool to a service center for inspection. That process can take time. The manufacturer may need to review the claim before approving a replacement or repair. In some cases, replacement parts may need to be ordered from suppliers before the tool can be fixed. During that time, the customer is often left without the tool they originally purchased. For homeowners, this can be inconvenient. For professionals who rely on their tools for work, it can be even more frustrating. This doesn't mean warranties are useless. They still provide some protection, and many companies do honor their coverage, but the warranty alone does not guarantee the tool will last. In fact, the presence of a strong warranty sometimes sometimes hides the real issue. A tool that rarely fails does not need frequent warranty claims. But if a product begins failing more often, the warranty process becomes part of the customer experience. That's one reason why older tools built such strong reputations. Many of them simply did not fail often enough for people to think about the warranty in the first place. Today, warranties remain an important safety net. But they should not be the only thing buyers rely on when choosing a tool, because another change inside the industry explains why tools are being replaced more often than they were in the past. And that change involves how companies design the lifespan of their products. Tools are replaced more often than before. Another change in the industry is how often tools are redesigned and replaced. In the past, a successful tool model could stay in production for many years. If a company built a strong ratchet, drill, or wrench set, that design might remain almost unchanged for a decade or more. Small improvements might be made along the way, but the core design stayed the same. That consistency helped build trust. Mechanics and homeowners learned which models worked well, and those tools developed strong reputations over time. Parts were easier to replace, and accessories often remained compatible for years. Today, the product cycle is much faster. Many tool companies release updated versions of their tools more frequently. A drill or impact driver might be replaced by a newer model every few years. Sometimes the changes are meaningful improvements, but in many cases the updates are small. The tool may have a slightly different housing, a new grip design, or a small adjustment to the motor or electronics. From a marketing perspective, this keeps the product line looking fresh. Stores can advertise new models, and companies can promote updated features. But faster product cycles can also make tools harder to repair or maintain over time. When a model is replaced quickly, replacement parts may become harder to find. Batteries, chargers, or accessories designed for one version may not always work with the next version. For buyers who expect their tools to last many years, this can be frustrating. Older tools often stayed in production long enough for parts to remain available for a long time. Mechanics could repair them, rebuild them, and keep them working for decades. With modern tools, the design may change before that kind of long-term repair cycle becomes possible. This doesn't mean every new model is worse than the previous one. Many modern tools are more powerful and more efficient than older versions. But the faster cycle of product updates means tools are sometimes treated more like consumer electronics than long-term equipment. And that shift is one reason many buyers feel like they are replacing tools more often than they used to. But understanding these industry changes also gives buyers an advantage, because once you know what has changed in the way tools are built and sold, it becomes much easier to avoid the worst options. And that brings us to the final part of this story: how smart buyers avoid bad tools. Once you understand what changed in the tool industry, buying tools becomes much easier. The goal is no longer to chase the newest model or the flashiest brand. Instead, smart buyers start paying attention to a few simple things that reveal whether a tool is likely to last. The first thing experienced buyers often look for is proven designs. Some tool models stay in production for many years because they work well. When a tool has been on the market for a long time and continues to be sold without major redesigns, it usually means the design is reliable. Mechanics and contractors often prefer these proven tools because their durability has already been tested over time. The second thing smart buyers focus on is simple construction. Tools with fewer complicated parts are often easier to maintain and repair. A simple ratchet mechanism, a solid metal wrench, or a straightforward power tool design tends to last longer because there are fewer things that can fail. That's one reason many older tools still work today. Their designs were simple, strong, and built around durability rather than extra features. The third thing experienced buyers look for is strong materials. When you handle a tool, pay attention to the weight and construction. Solid metal parts, thicker housings, and well-finished mechanisms often indicate stronger internal components. While lighter tools can be comfortable to use, extremely light tools sometimes achieve that weight by reducing material thickness. A tool built with stronger materials may cost a little more at first, but it often lasts much longer. Finally, many smart buyers also pay attention to reputation over marketing. Some brands build their reputation through decades of consistent performance rather than flashy advertising. When mechanics, contractors, and longtime homeowners recommend the same tools repeatedly, it usually means those tools have proven themselves in real-world use. By focusing on these simple factors, proven designs, simple construction, strong materials, and trusted reputation, buyers can avoid many of the problems that come with poorly built tools. Understanding how modern tools are manufactured doesn't mean every new tool is bad, but it does help explain why so many people feel that tools today don't always last like the ones they remember from years ago. And once you know what to look for, you can still find tools that will serve you well for many years to come. If you found this breakdown helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more practical insights that help you choose tools more confidently and avoid costly mistakes.